All right, just finished up some more work on the Circle Track car tonight. My goal tonight was to get the ignition box installed, get that wired in, at least as far as I could without the engine in, get the gauges hooked up, and just kind of get everything generally laid out and just kind of ohm everything out and figure out which wires go where and kind of what we have and what we don't need. So I've cleaned up a lot of the wiring. I'm leaving a decent amount in case we want to add things later on. I'll just show you guys a few things. So, let's see if I can zoom in for you guys. If you look at the switch panel, I'm really only going to be using the ignition, the tach, and then the starter button. Everything else is kind of add-ons. So, the brakes, I might add a blower fan. The driver, I might add a blower fan. The other two, I don't have any use for, but kind of our three basic ones are going to be ignition, tach, which will power all of our gauges, then the starter button. Luckily, a lot of that wiring was already there, so I just had to ohm it out, figure out where everything ran, like I showed in the other video. Got the battery mounted here. I'm just going to set the power cable back on. Hang on one second. Show you guys where we're at. So I got the power cable back on. Everything is still off because our master switch up here is still off. I'll turn that on, and then if I flip our ignition, or I'm sorry, our tach, that turns on our gauges. So now we have all of our gauges are on, the lights are on at the same time. That's the way I like it. Turns our tach on, turns all the lights on, turns the gauges on. Some people wire them more individually, but that's just another switch to remember to turn on. I like to keep it as simple as possible. So we have that figured out. Honestly, as far as the engine wiring, everything is there that I need and plenty more, like I was saying. So once I install the engine, it's going to be, let me think, about 6 wires between the coil, the distributor, and the starter, and we'll have this thing fired up. Here's the ignition box. I basically just tied into what was already previously there, although the wiring was different, so I had to go through, but I just utilized the harness that was already there, and like I said, just ohmed everything out and made sure everything went to the correct places. Basically, this wire here will go out to our distributor for our magnetic pickup, and then they ran an external coil, so these 2 coil wires will go out to our distributor and to the coil on top of the distributor. I just run an HEI with all of the guts, or the module and everything out of it. But yeah, that was my goal, is to get the wiring exactly where I'm at now. I want to clean up. You see some of that kind of got the heat shrink and the protective coating melted off of it, so I want to go through that and clean that up. But the main wiring harness is good, and that's what I really needed to check, and it's able to work. So, like I said, I pretty much got about 80% of the wiring done. So that is awesome. One of the next steps, I'm going to get back on the engine and get that assembled. That's my next goal here, is to just really crunch time on this engine. I'm not going to rush anything, nothing like that, but I would like to have this engine. So today is Thursday. I'll probably have a couple hours tomorrow to work on it Friday, and then spend some time on it on Saturday. If everything goes well, I really should have the engine all assembled this weekend. Now, I am still waiting on parts. They're supposed to show up today, actually, and they got delayed till tomorrow. But I'm going to have at least 90-95% of the parts for the engine. So I'll be able to get the entire long block assembled. Pretty much intake, oil pan, timing cover, balancer, accessories, everything. There's just a few little things. I need to get valve cover gaskets. This is the only thing I know that I forgot. But at least at that point, my next step will be to get the engine in the car. And that's going to be a huge step. So don't want to get ahead of myself, but I can start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But we've still got quite a bit of work ahead of us. So, like I said, hopefully I can get a lot of hours put on it this weekend and really start to make some headway on this thing. I'm starting to feel the pressure of crunch time. Like I said, it's not the end of the world, but man, the sooner I can get this completed, we're going to run into problems. I'm going to have hiccups along the way. So I just want to get everything assembled before I can get to those little problems and issues sooner. That gives me more time to adapt and overcome from those issues. So fully expecting some problems. I know we'll run into them, but I figure the sooner the better. That way I can just get through that and get this thing onto the track. So we are getting it there. I'm excited. It's definitely been more work than... It's not been more work at all. Let me rephrase that. It's been more hours than what I expected. It's all the work that I expected. Really the only unforeseen things was when we had to rebuild that rear end, which could have definitely been predicted. I'm not surprised, but I just wasn't counting on that. But no, I mean, it's pretty much been all the work I expected. I just thought I'd be able to get it done a little bit quicker, but when you can only work on it a few hours here and there, it does take a lot longer. It feels like I just get started and I run out of time. That, and I can say my memory was a little bit faded. When we assembled this car, I had 2 or 3 of my friends, definitely 3, but 2 main, and then my other friend was coming in and out helping, that were really helping me get this thing assembled. And man, did that make a lot more difference than what I really realized. Is we knocked this thing out pretty quick when we got this thing and assembled it the first time. This one I'm pretty much doing by myself. Well, me and my dad. So my dad's definitely helping a ton, but it's just me and my dad. Previous, it was me and my dad plus 3 friends. Yeah, that makes a huge difference. So I really do appreciate when they help out, and definitely a big difference when you're working by yourself. But I don't mind that at all. I actually kind of prefer it from a flow standpoint. It's easy for me to get into kind of that state of flow when I'm working by myself. I can just really focus. But when you're working with friends, man, you can get a lot more accomplished. And I kind of took that for granted a little bit on how much more time this is taking me. But all good. We're getting it knocked out. I'm excited. This thing is gonna come together quickly. I've been saying that, I know, but it's on the downhill side in my mind. Like I said, we're gonna hit a few more issues, but I'm excited. This thing's looking good. And then once we get some track time on it, we'll get some laps on it. We'll get the bugs worked out. And again, this will set us up for next year. That's my whole goal here, is to try to get as many laps as I can, as much seat time as I can this year, just to prep and come out swinging next year, really be prepared. You know how things go. That might not work out the way I have planned, but it's a good plan for now. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Keep it saucy.